I see what the issue is. Okay. Now they should be able to hear us.
But
now that y'all can hear us, right?
sounds like it.
Sounds like it.
Okay, let's try this again, man.
All right, so maybe they can hear us better than the Charlotte Hornets roster could hear James Borrego during the playing game saying, hey, play better defense and take smart shots.
Don't go 20 for 58.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now maybe they couldn't hear him. maybe they were using StreamYard and they couldn't hear him. I think that was probably the issue.
All right, now for real. Welcome, everybody. Hello.
The Charlotte Hornets ended their coaching search finally by hiring one of the two finalists, Kenny Atkinson, Mike D'Antoni were the two finalists, like American Idol or some shit. And Kenny Atkinson was the choice. Kenny Atkinson spent most of his career as an assistant coach for the Knicks and the Hawks.
Yep.
Before getting hired on in 2016 as the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, where he navigated a really poor roster over the course of 4 seasons, but he did make the playoffs one of those seasons as a 6 seed. We'll talk about that. I want to talk specifically about that season in a little bit. But then the next season, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant come to the team. Brooklyn traded away all their good players in order to make that happen.
Yep.
The team was terrible because Kyrie or Kevin Durant did not play. And then the next season, they dismissed him in favor of Steve Nash. With the theory
so what you're saying is he was scapegoated because of his players? Is that what you're saying?
That never happens in the NBA.
Yeah, you're right.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, never.
Never happens. So the Hornets hire essentially another. So currently he is the Golden State Warriors assistant coach. So he's a little busy right now. A little busy in the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
But presumably when that happens, hopefully by Game 6 that'll all be done. You
don't want it to go 7.
We'll talk about this series in a bit, but it's just that he got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Oh, he got a lot of work to do.
Got a lot of work.
Yeah. You got a draft coming up in a few weeks that
exactly
you're gonna get thrust into.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jamal, I want you to speak about what you think about this hiring while I fix this video quality.
You go right ahead, man. So while Kaza is being producer, aside from being a host, man, Kenny Atkinson was the first name I mentioned when JB got dismissed. And for the same reasons, I thought he got a raw deal in Brooklyn, like we already alluded to, man. It's funny the reason why Atkinson essentially got canned. Because the Nets are basically saying the same thing the Hornets are saying. Hey, you're not the guy that we believe can take us to the next step, whatever that next proverbial step may be. Which is funny because now we're dismissing the guy who can't take us supposedly to the next step for a guy who was fired for not taking his team to that proverbial next step. A lot of people are going to see this as a lateral move. You got to understand Mitch Kupchak, he said, hey, the Hornets need a new voice. Kenny Atkinson may be super JB. Maybe Kenny Atkinson is the version of JB that can finally get the young Charlotte Hornets team to be more disciplined, mainly on the defensive end, to be a bit more mature, and to take that next step. Maybe they saw a lot of qualities they saw in JB when they hired JB and said, you know what, this guy has a little more experience. He's more refined. He's the version of JB that we wanted. Maybe that's the case. No, go. I know what you're going to say, but say
it. I don't think this. First of all, let me just say, I think it was a great hire.
I mean, that's who I wanted, right?
We talked about this on a previous episode. We're like, who should the Hornets look at?
We thought it was D'Antoni.
We thought it was D'Antoni, but before he even came into the picture, Atkinson was one of the names that we mentioned. Absolutely. Because I think a lot of people look and see what he did with Brooklyn and thought, okay, he can bring that to us. Having said that, I don't think this moves the needle much at all as far as the Charlotte Hornets are concerned. There's still glaring roster issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like if you don't have those roster issues with James Borrego, then the Hornets are a better team than they were.
But you know what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen.
Oh yeah, Roster's going to get better.
You already
Roster's going to get better. Team's going to get better. Hornets are going to be better, and the narrative will be.
I see. We told you should have been had Atkinson, but here's what's going to happen, guys. Borrego begged for a center literally for 3 seasons. Watch we go get one this offseason. That's the main upgrade in the roster that everybody agrees on, right? Right? We're gonna draft some.
Unless you're the Twitter cult.
I heard there's some infighting with them.
Oh yeah. That's what happens with cults. But no, you're right. Like you're saying.
But to your point, man, you know, Kupchak and Jordan essentially want to take the next step, but they got to do their job to take this team to the next step as well. It's not all on the coach like we've been saying for the last 2 seasons. You know what I mean? So Mitch Kupchak, I mean, the spotlight's on him too. He has a responsibility to really upgrade this roster. I mean, you know, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but you got DeAndre Ayton trade rumors out there. You got 2 draft picks. You got to decide what you want to do with. You got Miles Bridges' contract situation. So Mitch Kupchak, man, he's as much under the gun, in my opinion, which nobody else will say this. He's as much under the gun as Kenny Atkinson is going to be under the gun coming in the next season, man.
Mitch could fumble this.
He could. I don't think he will, but he could.
He's too experienced.
Right.
But he could.
He could.
You could mess up the Miles Bridges situation.
To me, that'd be catastrophic.
You could make the wrong move concerning Kai Jones.
Right.
There's a lot.
We got to talk about him a little bit.
There's a lot Mitch could do to mess this up, which would make hiring Kenny Atkinson a moot point.
Right.
And I think that's who the biggest pressure is on.
Yeah.
The front office, not the coaching staff. I always believe that Borrego, whether you liked him or not, it was a scapegoat for the.
Of course.
I mean, very rarely do you see a coach get fired after a winning season. Rarely. I mean, very rarely.
Not just to win a season, but an upward trajectory.
You know exactly. And I mean, it happens. It happened to Dwayne Casey. But normally, when that happens, it's because the organization already has somebody better in mind.
Right.
And that person doesn't look at the Toronto Raptors, Dwayne Casey. Everyone was like, how are you going to fire Coach of the Year? They hired Nick Nurse and they win a championship.
Right.
Mark Jackson, how are you going to fire Mark Jackson? Brings in Steve Kerr. They win a championship.
Yeah.
So is this that move?
I don't know about all that.
I don't know about all that. Exactly.
Right.
So I feel like we could be looking at the same situation with Kenny Atkinson. If they don't, first of all, if they don't fix the problems at the center position in the front court,
smooth point.
Then.
But look, man, I'm going broken record time from Jamal. I've said this plenty of other times. I'll say it one more time, man. The front office, you made Borrego the face of mediocrity. You basically put all the focus on him and said, hey, you're the reason why we can't get to that next step. So now we're going to have to hire a guy who's going to take us to that next step. All the pressure's on you now, man. You know what I mean? Now, here's the question. What is that next step for the Hornets? I'll let you answer that first.
So first of all, we don't know what goes on in these interviews.
Right.
I don't know the basketball mind of Kenny Atkinson. I can only base it on what I've known, what I've seen him during his tenure.
I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit.
So it's like when the Golden State Warriors, when Jerry West said, "Okay, we're gonna hire a new head coach," and they did not hesitate to get Steve Kerr.
Right.
There was something they knew about him already.
Right.
Whether it was
and real quick shout out to Bob Myers, who is a savant of an NBA executive. I gotta give it to him, man. Yeah.
So there was something there they already, and I feel the same way with the Nets. Although I really don't think Steve Nash has done anything to take, but they felt like
I don't see it yet.
They felt like his offensive mind was what was going to, you have 2 great offensive weapons in Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant.
Right.
You need
3 at the time.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
James Harden. So you need an offensive-minded coach. Well, not James Harden. Yeah, James Harden. Mm-hmm. You need an offensive-minded coach. I can see that line of thinking. But when it comes to the Charlotte Hornets, what is it that you feel like is missing from X's and O's coaching perspective that the Hornets need. What, like you said, what is that next level? For Golden State, it was being better offensively and winning a championship.
And nobody ever associates defense with the Golden State Warriors. They're second-rated defense in the league.
Yeah, right? Everyone was talking about Boston, the number one defense. Golden State's number two.
Right.
So I don't know what that next level is for the Charlotte Hornets. It's not winning a championship.
Not yet.
Let's forget about that.
Not yet.
We gotta win. We gotta get into the playoffs.
Get into the damn playoffs first before we start doing all that. But this is a guess. This is just me surmising. I'm not an insider. I don't know these things, but this is what I surmise about Kenny Atkinson. I'm going to go back to what I said, man. You look at this young Hornets team last season and the maturity issues. Some of and I don't mean like basically off court stuff mainly. I'm talking about on court stuff. The crazy shots, the not committing to defense all the time, the not playing together all the time. Some of the stuff that makes you a professional, you know what I mean? I think that was missing from a young Hornets team. And I think they look at Kenny Atkinson in that aspect and say, you know what? Maybe your voice can help the Hornets improve in those areas.
I'm wondering.
Maybe. And I'm just surmising.
What do they think? I don't disagree with that, actually. I think that the Hornets felt like our guys they're not connecting with Borrego,
right?
For whatever
reason, right?
So they'll connect with Kenny. Maybe they felt like I feel like Mike D'Antoni would be a difficult coach to connect to. He's a lot older,
and rigid, stubborn.
Been in the NBA for like a million years.
Hey, I've done something. Y'all ain't done nothing.
Exactly, yeah. And maybe they felt like Kenny Atkinson was better for that. But what is it about his voice to make the Hornets front office think that the players are going to gravitate towards him? More.
I'll say this. Okay. So that is a good segue to what I really ultimately wanted to talk about with Kenny Atkinson today. All right. Let's look at his tenure with the Brooklyn Nets. Okay. When his first year with the Brooklyn Nets, what was it? 2016 to 2017, right? Yep. The Nets were the organization was in complete disarray. Okay. They didn't even have a draft pick in 2014. All right. Brook Lopez is your best player on this Brooklyn Nets team. Okay, let's talk about that. Bojan Bogdanovic was your second best guy in a very competitive Eastern Conference that year, by the way. All right? Didn't do much the first year. Not expected to do much, okay? He had all these glaring issues on the roster. You get to, 2018, and he wins 40 games.
With D'Angelo Russell.
Compared to winning 28 games the previous season.
Yeah, I'm going to read off that roster that went from 28 wins to 42 wins. The big names were D'Angelo Russell and Spencer Dinwiddie.
Right. But time out before you go on. Player development, right? That's the theme for the last 4 or 5 years, right? He had a little something to do with those guys being what they are.
Jared Allen,
right.
Who else? Jared Dudley, Kenneth Faried, Travion Graham, Joe Harris, Karis LeVert, Shabazz Napier, Theo Pinson, Rondé Hollis Jefferson. That wasn't a terrible roster, but I'll say this. Before the season started, nobody looked at Brooklyn and thought, that's a 6 seed.
That's a 6 seed.
Nobody.
No way. No way. Is this starting to sound familiar?
Though I feel like somebody posted, I don't remember if it was in the Hornets group or an obstruction group talking about this hire, but they posted a gif of a hamster.
A hamster wheel spinning. Right.
That is what this feels like. It feels like they kind of reset, but they're doing the same thing.
But is that such a bad thing? Being that, because we can't forget, we are still on a very upward trajectory. So is that necessarily a bad thing?
I feel like when you fire a coach that, and it's not like, okay, so the Hornets didn't have a losing season, although half y'all predicted that they would.
And we got proof that you did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They didn't have a losing season. Clearly the team had improved over the last 2 seasons. By the way, another aspect that people are missing about most of Borrego's tenure was during the pandemic. That's got to be the toughest time to be an NBA coach or front office. You don't know
with young guys.
Yes,
man.
2020, we didn't even know if there was gonna if the season was gonna end. Remember, the Hornets did not play in the bubble. They were not invited. They essentially got a fourth of their season chopped off. They have to come back in a late shortened season and compete. That was a tough. That's got to be a tough tenure as a first time head coach.
Yeah, right.
So I'm not. So when you let someone like that go, you got to bring in somebody who you're like, okay, this is the guy. This is the guy. He got us to where we can go, and he can't get us any further, which is perfectly okay. That might be the case with JB. We even said that on the show. Right. Maybe this was as far as he could take the Hornets. But the next guy, you got to think. I'm missing something with Kenny Atkinson here. I think he's a really good coach, but is he going to be the guy
to take us to the next level?
Yeah,
that remains to be seen. Here's a very early prediction, and this is just I'm throwing something out there. Mitch is gonna. I believe this roster is going to improve this summer somehow, some way. I believe Mitch is going to pull something that will improve this roster. Then the press is going to be on Kenny Atkinson because what do we say? Which I'm standing by this no matter what. I don't give a damn what happens. You better win 50 games next year. I don't care what happens between now and the beginning of the season. That is going to be my standard for Kenny Atkinson. All right, but to me, he's going to do it with the better roster. Year number 1, year number 2, it's kind of a grace period, so to speak. You start getting to year 3, it's like, all right. Who are we now? You know what I mean?
We'll call that the Dave Gettleman effect. Remember, Dave Gettleman took over a team that was built by Marty Herney and went 15-1 and went to the Super Bowl, and that win-loss record is on Dave Gettleman.
Right.
But we know what ended up happening. Swagner said, would Atkinson coming in with a ring if Golden State were to win the finals make our players more likely to listen? JB had 2 rings as an assistant with San Antonio. And the Hornets organization, prior to this coaching regime leaving, had 13 rings
between them,
between everyone on them. You know, all the way down to the trainer. We said we had our athletic trainer won a ring with the Lakers the season prior. So I'm not sure if Atkinson coming in. Now, granted, his ring is a lot more recent than Borrego's were. So I don't know if that will sway. I think what's going to sway people over is Kenny Atkinson is probably more willing to play
the young guy.
The young guys. Like Sherrod says, I think Atkinson is a player's type of coach. I think that might be true. Borrego is old school, comes from a
little rigid.
Yeah. Greg Popovich. So I think that he's less willing to listen to what his players are telling him.
Let's talk about that a little more. As far as Atkinson and his willingness, or may not be willing, to play the young guys. Are we still sure about that? Are we really positive that?
So the only reason, and this is based on what Mitch Kupchak has said, the only reason JB didn't play the young guys was because of what?
Because he got guys in front of him.
Yeah, Mitch told him, we're not developing.
We're trying to make the playoffs.
We're trying to make the playoffs.
Right.
Okay, well, I'm going to play my vets. I'm going to play the best guys on my team.
And then when you fire the guy, I wish the young guy.
Yeah, I wish I hadn't told him that. I'm mad at Mitch for that. I am mad at Mitch for that.
Listen, I'm still confused. I still don't know. I'm still very confused by that.
So I do think, though, I got to think that's one of the things they talked about when they talked to D'Antoni and Atkinson. What do you think about our roster makeup?
Right.
And guys like James Bouknight, Kai Jones.
Right.
And it wouldn't surprise me if D'Antoni was like, those guys have potential.
Potential, but they're not ready yet.
Right, they're not ready yet.
Because listen, D'Antoni does not care about young guys. Let's be very clear at all.
And Atkinson was probably like, oh, you know what? I feel like I give those guys a chance. I see a lot of potential. That might have been.
But see, let's talk about this. Atkinson Atkinson was in a situation where he literally didn't have a choice but to play a lot of young guys. I mean, literally. You look at those rosters we just named.
Yeah.
Karis LeVert was thrust into the start lineup because they didn't have another shooting guard. You get what I'm saying? So I don't want to hear this stuff about, Atkinson was more willing to play younger. No, he didn't have a choice.
Well, I think he's going to next season because that's why I'm almost positive based on the comments that Mitch said a few weeks ago. They hired Kenny Atkinson because he's going to play the young guys. Okay,
fine. So with that being said, I guess Montrezl Harrell ain't coming back, right? I guess Cody Martin ain't coming back, right?
I'd be surprised. Okay, so I want to address Ty's question for a minute. I'm sorry, after a minute. But about Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah.
He made a tweet, and it's always hard to get.
It's always hard to gauge what he's thinking, man. Yeah.
But he said
these cryptic tweets
he said, well, it was fun while it lasted.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Now, if I'm a Hornets fan, I'm thinking he ain't coming back.
He ain't coming back. That's the first thing I thought.
So, which I would love to see Montrezl Harrell come back. What I would like to see, start Kai Jones. What do you got to lose?
Start him. You really want to start him?
Throw him in the fire.
Okay.
Just throw him in there.
I mean, I'm not totally against you, but okay.
Throw him. What do you got to lose? At this point, what do you have to lose? It's either him.
You better not lose more than 40 games. To tell you that
much. And then you start Kai Jones and you bring Harrell off the bench as that stabilizing.
But Plumlee's still on the roster. You're still on the hook for his $9 million. So you just making Plumlee the third dude?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure no fans will have a problem with that.
If I'm Atkinson, yeah, I feel like, well, first of all, Atkinson, he's going to want to come out and make us a splash.
Quick little nugget here. Mason Plumlee started for Kenny Atkinson his first year. So, not started, I'm sorry, but he was the first man off the bench. Right. So, I'm a little more complicated than we thought here, huh? But, yeah that's look, you can talk all you want to about young guys playing and stuff, but your roster makeup can't be a contradiction of that. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly. No,
we can't have the same problem that we had from last year.
Like here, so we didn't want Mike D because he was honest about the roster. I believe that.
I believe that.
I believe that. And Mitch has shown that over the last few years, he's kind of salty about.
It's like, hey man, I know what I'm doing. Don't criticize me. Right.
When Borrego did call him out publicly 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
Man, I need a center.
Right.
We gotta have a center. Right. And then given the statement that Mitch Kupchak made about I shouldn't have told JB not to play the young guys, but he should have played the young guys.
Come on, man.
He felt like I feel like he felt like Kai Jones was the answer to or the solution to the problem that JB had. I need a center. But, cool. I traded a first round draft pick and I got you the second highest rated center in the draft.
But here's my thing, man, and this is just my opinion. How do you draft Kai Jones and not know he's a project? Like I'm sitting here looking at, and look, we love Kai Jones' potential. We all agree on that.
I want to see the kid play.
We all want to see the kid play. But as far as his first year being in the NBA, I'm looking at Kai Jones. I'm like, okay, I know he's not going to play the first year. At least that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So again, man, it's such a contradiction from Mitch Kupchak to be like, yeah, you should have played the young guys, but I'm clearly drafting this guy to be a project. Which one is it, man?
Yeah,
I don't get it, dude. I'm sorry.
I think that's just all it comes down to. Mitch is like, he feels like the roster is fine.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about this next point, assuming that Mitch thinks the roster's fine. So let's get into some offseason stuff. Just a little bit. Okay, if the roster's fine. What does that specifically mean? Do you still go draft or go get the center we've all been coveting? Okay, I'm assuming you still do. I'm assuming you still do. I'm assuming there's some look just to play NBA 2K fantasy mode real quick. Let's just go say our prayers are answered and we get DeAndre Ayton for some reason. Okay, our center position is finally fulfilled. What does that mean for Kai Jones? Who wants to play 4, by the way? Who, by the way, we already have PJ as a 4. So
I'll tell you this much. He's not going to get any playing time over PJ Washington at the 4.
He better not. I'm sorry.
I mean, PJ, I think has grown into a very solid option at the 4.
Yeah, I agree.
I've always maintained that Kai Jones is a Miles Turner type player. Very athletic, gets after the ball. Probably not a great rebounder because he doesn't have those kind of instincts.
Right.
But I think he can be that kind of player, maybe a little better offensively. But if you're Mitch has always valued his draft picks very high.
Yeah, which he should.
By that, I don't mean the pick. I mean the player he picks.
Right.
Okay, as most GMs do. But I think that he feels like, hey, I know what I'm doing. I can actually draft somebody that's going to come in and contribute at 13.
Right.
In which, I mean, he did draft Miles Bridges at 13.
Yeah.
And I think he feels pretty good about that pick.
Yeah. And I think he's got some pretty good options at 13. He'll have some pretty good options at 13 this year.
Also, I think Mitch might be a little gun shy about a big center move. Let me take you back to 2008. I'm kind of fuzzy. My memory's fuzzy because I'm old. But there was a guy named Kobe Bryant, and they really badly needed a center. They
Come
really
on, man.
badly. So they go get Dwight Howard, who at the time, young Hornets fans might remember young Dwight Howard or old Dwight Howard.
Right.
But for like 5 straight years, Dwight Howard was the best.
He was dominant.
He was the best player in the league. The fact that he never won an MVP is kind of a shame. But
don't forget his Orlando teams knocked LeBron and the Cavs out. Let's not forget.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
They were that good.
They knocked us.
They knocked us out. They swept us pretty. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So
worst matchup we could have possibly had.
So I mean, no one could stop Dwight Howard.
Nah, man.
So what does Mitch Kupchak do? He goes against Dwight Howard.
Right. Doesn't work out so well. Yeah, doesn't work out so well.
He leaves and win a championship with Paul Gasol. I think that
scarred him.
That scarred him,
but
because he had to sacrifice a lot to get Dwight Howard to come.
I agree.
To LA, and it just didn't work. Now, a part of that was because Kobe Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard to play with Kobe Bryant.
Personality clash, to say the least.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. But I just think Mitch is gun shy. He's like,
But is he gun shy with DeAndre Ayton in particular? That's my question. Because, and I'm just throwing it out here, DeAndre Ayton, his relationship with Monty Williams, it's obviously not good. If he wants to leave, so maybe that makes him a little gun shy. Maybe what I mean?
Also, here's where. First of all, I'd love DeAndre if DeAndre Ayton was in the Hornets.
I'm like, please, make it happen.
His grievances in Phoenix, he would maybe have the same grievances here.
And that would be a problem. Because there's one basketball, and you already got 3 guys on this team who want the ball all the time.
I expect LaMelo to be more ball dominant next season than he was his first season.
And let me say this: he should be. So let me say that.
He clearly improved his shooting near the second half of last season.
Yeah.
He should be the guy.
He should. There's no question about it.
So, okay, DeAndre, you're not the guy.
You're not going to be Melo. You're not going to be the guy over Melo. So
you're not going to beat over Miles either.
Right.
Miles paid his dues here. I think also that will make Mitch gunshot because that was part of the issue with Dwight Howard.
Yeah,
he was the guy in Orlando.
Right.
He comes to LA. You're not going to be the guy with Kobe Bryant.
Nah.
Shaq wasn't even the guy with Kobe Bryant. He was the best player on the team.
Right.
Shaq was the best player in basketball for like 5 years.
But here's where some relief may be coming in. Here's where somebody like Kenny Atkinson may come in. Maybe he has some input or some insight or someone who's kind of maybe someone he's developed. Maybe he can say, you know what, this guy may be a good fit. Maybe he can say, you know what, I've coached this guy. I know a little bit about this guy, which is why I wish we would have had a damn coach a month ago, but I don't want to backtrack. Anywho, but this is where somebody like Kenny Atkinson, who is very well respected around the league, by the way, may help Mitch Kupchak's job if Kupchak allows him to help him. Let me put that asterisk on it.
Some really good questions here. I want to take in line because they're all kind of in the same.
Yeah. Let's interact with some people.
Our buddy Kevin Avery. What about the future for Vernon Carey, Nick Richards? Bye.
Vernon Carey's already gone though. Vernon Carey. He's in Washington.
Yeah, he's in Washington. Nick Richards. I've always been kind of high on Nick Richards because I like natural 7-footers.
Right. Which is a damn good question because we keep forgetting about Nick Richards.
But I just feel like
he's not the guy though.
I don't know if his besides being a natural 7-footer.
Right. What
does he give you?
What does he got? He's a guy.
I mean, Kai Jones can out jump him.
Kai Jones can out everything.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
I don't see the need for him.
If Montrezl Harrell leaves, then this might be a good opportunity for Nick Richards, which leads me to the next question. Is small ball over now that JB is gone? I'm going to say yes. Atkinson was never a small ball guy in Brooklyn. He had Jared Allen for one.
I'll say this, though. I will say this. Kenny Atkinson is currently on a coaching staff who they don't do anything but small ball. They don't even have a damn center. They don't even have a damn center.
That's true.
Bielitsa and the Kevon Looney are not centers, and that's who they have as their centers. I'm just throwing it out there.
I don't think that Kenny Atkinson is going to. I don't know how much he's going to usurp from as far as knowledge from Steve Kerr.
Right.
Steve Kerr was a master of he played in the damn triangle offense,
right.
And from what
played under Phil Jackson,
right? And from what I understand, he has taken Phil Jackson's philosophy and modified it for the modern game, and that's why it works. That's why Golden State can play small ball. Their best lineup is Draymond Green playing center, and they played a zone in a box and one for like the last 2 series, and they're in the NBA Finals.
Somebody tried that here. Never mind. Go ahead, man.
But I don't know if Kenny Atkinson is necessarily going to. I don't know if he's going to be like, man, that worked in Golden State. Well,
that's right.
Let's do it in Charlotte because one, regardless of what you think about Draymond Green, from whether he's a jerk or his ability or whatever. We don't have a Draymond Green.
We don't have a Draymond Green here.
We don't. And I feel like that works in Golden State.
I don't even think we have a Kevon Looney here, to tell you the truth. As far as like the dirty work guy who does all the little stuff.
Yeah, that might be Kai next year.
That should have been Montrez, but I don't think he does it as effectively as Looney. Not on the defensive end. Not on the defensive end. Right, let me be clear about that. Yeah.
So I don't expect Atkinson to come in and implement small ball. I think he's gonna say, okay, we got Kai, we got Nick Richards, we got Harrell, assuming Harrell stays, and we got Plumlee. Right. Let's use these guys.
Does anybody want to hear that?
No, nobody wants to hear that. And then Swagger says, would you rather them go after someone like Nurkic or Valanciunas who may not cost that much in a trade over Ayton? Yes.
Yeah. It's not a bad move.
I've been waving the Nurkic flag.
You've been on the Nurkic flag for a minute.
For like
and look, I've been on the Valanciunas flag for a minute, actually.
Yeah, I feel like those they don't require a lot of touches.
You're right.
They're cheap.
Yep.
They can rebound.
Yep. And
they clog up the paint. They may not be the best defenders, and they can step outside. They can shoot the three.
Yep.
They're fairly mobile. They're not like Joel Embiid or anything.
Right.
But I feel like they're good options to fit what the Hornets are trying to do.
Absolutely.
As far as our identity goes.
Absolutely.
And I still feel like Nurkic is like, I feel like you could call him today and he'd be like, all right, what's good?
Yep, let's go.
He's already said he don't want to stay in Portland anymore if Dame Lillard's not going to be there. And I'd be shocked if Dame Lillard stayed in Portland. And, Valanciunas, they're already talking about shopping him.
Yep.
Although that surprises me, honestly. But I think they feel like they could get.
No, they actually like the young boy, Jackson Hayes.
Yes.
Which I don't blame him because he's a baller. So I kind of understand that.
Sabonis is another guy. I think he would be. You'd have to give up almost too much to get Sabonis.
His contract is a little steep too.
Yeah. Mo Bamba. What do you think about Mo?
I'm cool with that.
I'll be cool with that. I don't think he's as good as those other guys.
He's more athletic, though.
Way more athletic.
And he's learned how to shoot the three, which I didn't see coming.
We got Kai Jones.
There you go.
Well, why not just play him?
As well.
This is a good question. Current offensive schemes are centered around shooting a lot of threes, but does it seem like Melo attempts too many, doesn't attack the basket? Hey, that's just today's NBA. Plus, LaMelo, if I had a fault in his offensive game, He's not very physically strong despite his size.
And I think that's coming though.
Yeah. Hopefully he's in the weight room today.
Hey, real quick, man. So there was a concert last night, the Legends of Hip Hop, something like that. LaMelo was in the gym shooting shots while the concert was going on. So I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't. I was like,
dope. That's pretty dope.
That's
go ahead, bro.
But it's LaMelo. First of all, he has good handles, but his handles aren't as functional as they are flashy.
You know why? Because he gets knocked off his spot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So if he tries to do something like Kimba used to do,
right,
they're just gonna bump him and he loses the ball.
Yeah.
So I think if he can.
And I hate to say
physical.
this, and I hate to say this, but you know where I'm going with this, man. I think that's why he has such a problem with referees, because the referees, they're saying like, "No, kid, you just not strong enough.
You 6'8".
You 6'8". What you crying about?"
Right. He's got to bulk up, because what was the biggest knock on Kemba Walker after he learned how to shoot was that. Oh, now he's got to score around the basket.
Yeah.
He's too small.
And he learned how to do that. Which is crazy.
Yeah,
you see how small he is.
So if Kemba Walker can do that, I am certain LaMelo Ball, who is 6'8", 200 plus pounds, maybe, could learn how to do that. I think if he learns to attack the basket in the offseason, he gets stronger, he's going to do that more, and that will open up the Hornets' offense. They'll be able to shoot all the threes they want.
Listen, that's going to take LaMelo from fringe all-star to perennial.
Definitely.
Yeah, seriously.
Definitely. And I'm sure somebody is saying that to LaMelo. If we see that deficiency, I know
the pros see it. Right,
exactly.
Right.
And I think he'll fix that.
Right.
Is that an East Lamar logo on the back of the laptop? Yes, it is.
Yes,
Rest in peace, East Lamar, man. I was telling my kids about it's very short culture moment.
Right.
My kids I took my daughter to Carolina Play Small. And it was just a sad sight. No one goes to malls anymore.
Right.
And so I was trying to explain to them, like, if you lived in Charlotte in the 90s, and you were between the ages of, say, 13 and 21,
right,
you was at Eastland Mall
every Saturday.
You was there. It started in that underground parking deck. That's where everyone got dropped off. You know, people had
that's where everybody was cruising.
Because it was underground, so you could play your system loud.
Yep.
Your joint was loud. You walking through there, you had the arcade to the right, movie theater to the left, and then straight ahead, food court.
Yep.
Man, it was. Whew.
Rest in peace, East Lamar.
Rest in peace.
Listen, man. East Mall is not just a mall for Charlotte. It is a cultural staple.
People don't understand,
Charlotte, man. Like, it was the hangout.
Actually, that whole area, Central Avenue, Sharon, and that whole area. I used to work at the Chuck E. Cheese's on Almar Road, which is essentially across the street.
Yep.
And like between that place, the mall. There was a Rockola Cafe, like right across the street.
And there was a Buffalo Wild Wings on Almar Road with the 25-cent wings on Tuesdays. And that was another popular hangout, man. I miss the old Charlotte.
Yeah, old East Charlotte was. I bet y'all didn't know, though. I only know this because I run a true horror podcast. One of the most prolific serial killers ever.
That was his stomping grounds.
Was East Charlotte. East Lamar. They called him the Taco Bell Strangler.
Taco Bell Strangler. Mr. Henry Wallace. That was his stomping grounds. Crazy stuff, man. Yeah. Crazy stuff.
All right, back to basketball. Do the Hornets have enough talent to play 9 and 10 players like the Grizzlies do? I believe so. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, look, man, every Hornets fan wants a 13-man rotation anyway. So, I mean, I think 10 for the regular season is good.
Yeah, I agree.
Shorten it down to 8
in the playoffs. I can see that. Right.
I think
the one thing I just don't want to see Terry Rozier being the backup point guard again. I just don't want to see that. Whatever happens.
I feel like that was the biggest mistake James Borrego made.
That's the one thing I'll criticize Borrego for.
Especially after you pick up Isaiah Thomas and Isaiah Thomas showed that he was more than capable of being the backup point guard.
Which, and this is not talked about enough, man. But if he leaves, that's a glaring hole for backup point guard position right there, man.
And I hope Isaiah Thomas.
And I hope he sticks around. I really do.
I think another team will scoop him. I think another team will be like, "Hey, man, we saw what you did for Charlotte.
Come play with us.
We'll give
contender.
we'll give you way more playing time."
Exactly.
You think LA don't want him back?
Right.
LA.
I don't even know why they gave him up.
LA might, hey, come on back, bro.
Yeah.
Back up Russell Westbrook.
Nah, he won't be there next year.
They acting like Russell Westbrook is the future of LA. Like LeBron James don't even exist. Russell, hey man, better them than us.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Also, rest in peace to the Regency movie theater.
Yes. Old Charlotte. Good old Charlotte.
Oh, yeah.
Before Charlotte got fake sophisticated, man.
Oh boy, yeah. I went out Plaza Midwood last weekend or the weekend before that sometime.
I was there last night. It's just so pretentious and snooty.
It's so whack.
There's no soul.
Nothing. Yeah.
God, man.
Hey, that's the price of progress.
That's the progress. You lose your cool stuff.
Josh said, don't talk about my boy Russ like that. No, I'm going to talk about him. Remember when the Hornets played the Lakers this last season? And when I saw that they were going to ISO Russ for the final shot, I was like, we won.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
We get to survive this game.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, sir.
I knew for a fact Russell Westbrook was going to take that last shot.
Nobody else getting that ball. You already know, man. Nobody else
I started celebrating before as soon as I saw them, like he waved up everyone. I was like, yes.
About to win.
Light up the cigar. Going back to Isaiah Thomas and Montrezl Harrell. If, let's say, they don't return and we don't pick up anyone to immediately fill those roles, are the Hornets worse?
I think so because, I mean, not to be Captain Simple here, but they made us better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, and going back to my previous point, man, what's your option at that point? If you're not going to get anybody to replace them, you're going to get a second round draft pick of some undrafted dude, or
I feel like Montrezl Harrell is more of a, I'm not going to say he's more valuable, but that situation is far more interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
Because one, I feel like actually he wouldn't mind, I'm not going to say wants, he wouldn't mind staying here, like running it back.
Right.
Like one full season with these guys. I think he really enjoyed playing here. I think he liked it here, man. Yeah. But although his market value is not what it was a few years ago, I
agree. Right.
There are going to be a lot of teams calling him up.
Yeah.
Saying, hey.
But if I'm his agent, if I'm someone who's close to Montrezl, you know what I tell him? Say, man, you got to chill on wanting to start anywhere.
That's not gonna happen.
I don't think it's gonna happen, man. And I just don't think he's a starting center. I think his best fit is just off the bench for people.
Yeah, regardless of whether he would make a good starter, the narrative and reputation around him is that he provides a spark off your bench. That's why he was 6th man of the year.
I tell you what, though, could you imagine him on Golden State?
Oh my God,
Lord have mercy. That's a fit right there.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Speaking of Golden State, you want to talk about the finals?
We'll talk about the first of all, are we done paying Nick Batum? This is last season. Oh, God. This is last season.
What a horror story. I just started itching when you said Nick Batum, man. Oh, boy.
One more year.
I was on Twitter, and somebody if you're on Twitter and somebody likes somebody else comment, it pops up on your timeline. And somebody liked something Nick Batum said. I almost threw my phone out the window because I was like, I knew I stopped following this dude. Why
made a tweet the other night after Steph Curry erupted for like 7 million points. I don't remember what the tweet was, but I remember thinking, shut up. Nick Batum.
You're not important enough to talk about Steph Curry.
Exactly. Because it was like LeBron James tweeted and like all these like elite players, all-stars. Wow, Steph Curry's amazing. And Nick Batum's like, yeah. It's like, shut up. Yeah. Shut your ass. Then nobody responded. Nobody replied. Nobody retweeted.
Yeah, we get our money. Hey, one dude replied. He was like, you stole money from the Hornets. Shut up. I love it, man.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man. We got to get all the Hornet stuff we want to tackle to talk about. Any other questions out there?
Really, we're just waiting for the end of this series, and I think immediately the Hornets are going to get to work. I don't expect them to make a big splash in the offseason, though. I just really don't.
You don't want – before we move on, there is one thing I want to talk about because the day is going to be here quicker than we think. The damn draft is the 23rd, man.
That's right.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you got anybody you like, man, or
nope.
Not really. Why am I asking you? Because I already know what you're going to say.
You already know what I'm saying. Trade the pick. Trade it. Unless, okay, so, I mean, when you're picking that high, 13 up, if you don't already have a guy that you're like Miles Bridges, they said,
no, we want that guy.
We want that guy. Actually, it was Shea Gilgeous-Alexander they wanted. But Miles Bridges was also available, and they made that trade for some reason, which, by the way, has worked out well for everyone. Right. I'm so glad that we're off that narrative of who won that trade. Everyone won that trade, except everyone won that trade. And I'm glad we didn't pick up Michael Porter Jr. I hate what has happened to him in his career, but I mean that was super obvious, how that was going to end up. Right. So if you don't have,
it's one of those things like we don't necessarily like. I hate to be right about that. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to root for the kid to like be hurt. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, that's just you got back problems. That's what happens. So if the Hornets don't already have someone in mind like that, then trade the pick.
However, Kaza, I am going to throw you a curveball. This is a curveball that kind of happened over the weekend, man. There's this kid I want you to. I want you to y'all watching. I want y'all to remember this name. His name is Shadon Sharp. Now, in all the mock drafts, he's projected to go top 10. But some NBA executive opened their mouth and be like, "I don't like this guy. I don't see top 10." So now the proverbial stock is dropping. And what happened? He worked out with the Hornets, which nobody saw coming. I want everybody to just remember that name and watch out for that kid because he may not just throw a wrench with the Hornets. He may throw a wrench in the whole draft. So I just want everybody to.
I mean, and we've seen this.
We've seen it before,
more
right?
In recent drafts where the best. I mean, look at Giannis.
You stole the words out of my mouth.
Giannis, Kawhi Leonard, look, Klay Thompson, Devin Booker. We're starting to see that more. In these drafts, so that actually, if he's available, I'm.
If you got 2 draft picks, take a risk.
Take a risk on that, yeah, exactly.
Right
now, if a team is like, "Hey, man, we'll give you DeAndre Ayton for both those picks and PJ Washington and Gordon Hayward," bye.
You giving up PJ?
I give up PJ for DeAndre Ayton.
Okay, just asking.
Because I mean, the minutes got to come from somewhere.
Yeah,
you need front court minutes, and I like PJ Washington.
And it opens up minutes for young guys.
It does.
Yeah,
it sure does. So right. I feel like if the Hornets make a trade, PJ Washington is going to be available.
It's like I really don't want to see PJ go. I don't. But if you got an opportunity to get
plus. PJ was Borrego's guy. That was Borrego's
guy. Yeah, no doubt.
So
absolutely. It's just, to me, I don't want to see him go because he was the only consistent cog you had toward the end of the season. When nobody else wanted to play defense, PJ did. When nobody wanted to do the dirty work, PJ did. When nobody else wanted to show up and you go 20 for 58, big 3 against the Atlanta Hawks in the play-in game, PJ was the only one who showed up. So
I feel like PJ made a good leap this past season.
Absolutely.
But that might have just gotten his
it might have just got his stock up.
Yep. Right. This is a great question.
What we got, man?
Let's say Golden State wins Game 7 next Sunday.
Okay,
that's June 19th.
Mm-hmm.
How quickly will Atkinson be able to assemble staff for the draft?
Ooh.
He cannot. That is impossible.
Ooh,
there's no way you could. There's no way.
Yeah.
I just think logistically you could not do that.
Yeah. No, that's a quick transition, man.
Mitch has got his guys in place already for the draft, and
right.
I think they're going to bring the coach in and they're going to talk. But I got to figure if you're Mitch, you already know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
but that's such a. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer.
That's not a good situation.
You know what I'm saying? Right? Am I wrong? Like, if I'm just getting hired by a team, we already got guys. You can sit the draft process out. I don't like that.
I'm certain that was something that they discussed during all of these interviews. Like, hey, if you are hired, you're not going to have a lot of time, especially when they spoke to him.
Right.
D'Antoni's different. D'Antoni could have got to work like today.
Yeah, you're right. Right.
Where Kenny Atkinson, they're like, okay, we know you really can't do anything until the series.
We are literally talking about what, a week?
Not even that.
Good God, man.
So, yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, that is a great question.
Plus, what kind of staff? Who are you going to bring? It's always difficult for assistant coaches to assemble staffs because you're going to have a bunch of guys that felt like they should have been the head coach.
Right, no doubt.
A lot of people did not like the assistant coaching staff under JB. I just felt like those people just didn't know a lot about. I mean, Jay Triano is like
he's
one of the most sought after assistant coaches in the league.
Right, right. And I hope we hold on to him, man.
Yeah, they probably won't, but
because a lot of head coaches bring in their guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
hey man, we are going long today, man.
Yeah, I mean, actually, well, we started kind of late. We'll give y'all some extra minutes.
Yeah,
we started late, and plus the video quality.
No doubt, y'all get bonus time today.
Yeah, actually, I do want to talk about the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
This is first of all, y'all gonna respect Steph Curry. Y'all gonna respect. I'm not certain Golden State will actually win the series. I'll say this: if they win Game 5, they win the series. That's it. If they go back to San Francisco and they win,
that's pivotal.
It's pivotal, over man. At that point. It might go to 7 games, but I don't think they'll lose 2 games before they win.
I don't see them lose 2. I don't see either team.
In fact, I see whoever wins Game 5, I think is going to win the series.
And Game 6, you better watch out for that other one.
Boy, Clay.
Yes, sir.
Game 6 Clay show up. That's
Game 6 Clay show up.
I kind of think. Klay Thompson, after they got beat in Game 3, said, "Hey, Golden State in 6," and everyone was like, "Okay, whatever, Klay."
Right.
But you couldn't have watched that last game and thought, maybe he was right.
I'm going to tell you, man. I am admiring Klay Thompson more and more, and I'm going to tell you why. This is my specific reason for kind of being more and more of a fan of Klay Thompson, man. You cannot forget about 2 catastrophic. What is it? ACL and
is it Achilles?
Yeah. Whatever. 2 major knee injuries. You cannot forget about
Most people don't come back from one
of them, and he had 2 in 2 consecutive seasons. Okay, and Klay is, and if you look at him on the floor, he's obviously not the same. He doesn't have the same mobility. He doesn't have the same speed. He doesn't have the same athleticism. You can clearly see that when he's playing, but he guts it out. Yeah, and he still knows how to shoot the damn ball. He still knows how to get open. It's like he's becoming more of a craftier player because of that athleticism is going down, that mobility is going down. So he's sticking the game more and more, and he's not as explosive. He's not going. Well, I don't say this confidently, but I don't see Klay being like the guy that's going to score 37 in the quarter and go off on you anymore.
I don't think we're going to get that. I don't think we'll get that Klay this series.
Right. I don't think we'll get that Klay anytime soon. But he is still going to get you buckets when you need him. And that's what I admire about the dude, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And plus, I think Game 5 is also important because I think Boston has realized, okay, one, they're getting outcoached.
Yeah.
Okay, I know we all like
Udoka.
We all like him, but Steve Kerr made some important adjustment.
Specifically Game 5. Kerr really earned his money in Game 5.
Yeah. So I think that Boston they've got to either say, okay, we're just going to stick with what we're doing and just do it better. And just pray Steph Curry just doesn't score 100 points, or they're going to have to have Steph Curry's play him differently. What's happening is that they're doing like a high drop with their big man. And
the locate point, when that big man drops, he has decisions to make.
Exactly. So what it's doing, it's the reason that Draymond Green is playing so poorly is because of that. Golden State has a play where they like to run like a short pick and roll with Draymond, and then it puts Draymond like right in the center of the lane,
right?
And he has all these options.
Right.
Kick to a shooter,
he can
a cutter, I can float it.
Yeah. Right.
Boston has taken that away.
Yeah.
But
you got to work.
But now the issue is that now Curry just says, okay, I'm just going to switch off on Al Horford.
Right.
Thanks for the free 3 points. Thank you for that. Al Horford cannot guard Steph Curry, and we saw last game what happened. So now Boston is like, oh, what do we do? Do we allow everyone else in Golden State to get more involved in the game and focus on Steph Curry, or do we just live with Steph Curry beating us?
What would you do? Because I'm going to tell you what I would do. I'd put the pressure on the other Golden State Warriors.
Exactly. I'm not going to let Steph Curry
not going to let Steph Curry just go off on me.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to and plus we know that Klay Thompson is not 100% Clay.
Right.
I mean, and plus, you got to think, okay, I would rather Andrew Wiggins beat me
That you took the words
than let Steph Curry go off for. This man is averaging 35 points a game in the finals.
And getting and don't get it twisted. He's still getting the majority of the defensive attention. Don't get it twisted, man. But here's the thing. But those games where Golden State lost and the pressure was on Wiggins and Clay and everybody else, they didn't show up.
They didn't.
And that's why they lost.
Exactly.
So why don't you duplicate that game plan? You know, and I'm gonna tell you something that was very critical about last game. Here's why. And listen, I don't pick anybody with certainty because this could go 7 either way. Let me be very, very clear about that. But I'm gonna tell you something that really impressed me about the Golden State Warriors as a whole last game. That first half, I mean, I'm not gonna say they were dead in the water, but you look at them, he was like, I'm not so sure they can beat the Celtics.
I felt, in fact, up until the
third quarter. Right?
I watched the game all the way until it was like 7 minutes left in the fourth.
Right.
Boston was up by 5.
Right.
And I thought, that's the game. I went to fix something to eat, talk to my daughter, check my email, check Facebook. I come back, turn the game on, Golden State up by 7 with a minute left. I'm like, what happened?
Right. Boston looked in complete control of that game most of the game. I got it. But
you know what's funny to me? It looks like Boston is playing their heart out.
Yeah.
Every game. Let me tell you something. Of every game.
I'll say this.
And they're only 2-2.
I'm going to tell you something. Whatever happens, Udoka has got the max out of those guys.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
He's got the max out.
But I feel like Golden State, we haven't even seen their best game. They're just sleepwalking through the finals.
And that's the thing. When we see our best Golden State game, we see the results.
I mean, yeah, they blew them out in
game two. Game two, look at them.
And I think they're going to go back to San Francisco with something to prove.
I agree,
and Golden State, maybe it's because they got so many light-skinned people on their team. But they're really petty.
They are petty.
They want to win in Boston.
They do.
Y'all remember what they said about Cleveland? Still smells like champagne in the locker room. You think they don't want to go back to Boston where they've been?
You think Draymond don't want to win in Boston?
Oh my God!
Oh my God! Help the NBA if the Warriors win in Boston and Draymond Green is holding up that trophy.
Oh my God! They have to sit National Guardian.
Adam Silver gonna have to call some security in, bro.
It'll be like Mouse in the Palace, but the game over. The game is done.
Oh man! Look, entertaining series so far, man.
Yeah, I think way more entertaining would have been had Miami won.
Yeah.
I don't think that would have been a close series, but as much as I hate the Celtics and all teams from that area, I got to give them their props. They had a worse record than the Charlotte Hornets did at the All-Star break.
Ain't that something?
Isn't that crazy? And then here they are 2 games away from winning the championship.
So you're telling me there's hope? Is that what you're
telling me there's a chance?
You're telling me there's a chance?
I don't. There's a reason, though, that they weren't good at the beginning of the season.
What you think? Tell me what you mean by that.
I think that the players, the defensive scheme, it just took them time to get used to.
I agree.
To that defensive scheme.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think when you have a new coach, what do? You're searching for an identity,
right?
And that took you some time to get the identity.
I think part of the reason they lost Game 4 was because they reverted. Sometimes we see this in all sports. Mm. You revert back to what you were.
Yeah, right.
In Game 4, they reverted back.
Yeah.
Okay, they had a stranglehold on the. I'm not gonna say a stranglehold, but they should have won that game, honestly. Mm-hmm. But Steph Curry kept coming and coming. So what did Boston do? 5 threes in a row.
They played like the Hornets.
Yes, they played. They did not have. They had 1 field goal in the last 5 minutes of the game. 5 of those attempts were 3-pointers.
Right.
Why would you do that?
Right.
Why would you do that?
Look, man, my main man, Mr. Jerry Valancourt, made a very good point when it came to that very thing. He said sometimes you get so frustrated on the defensive end of the court, like it kind of carries over to the offensive side.
The 3-pointer is so
deflating sometimes.
It is. And sometimes, you got 3 guys on Steph Curry, and he
still hit the shot. And it's like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, and you feel like, okay, I got to get that back, especially late in the game. If it's early in the game, you figure, okay, we'll get a few buckets.
Right.
Under 5 minutes, a 3-pointer is huge because now you need, if you don't score a 3, you would need at the very least 2 possessions.
Extra possession, right.
In order to just make up that 3 points.
Absolutely.
So I think Boston was doing that. Klay had a big 3. Steph had a big 3.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, we got to make up 6 points. So we can shoot 3s too. Well, you can't shoot 3s like the 2 greatest shooters
ever
in the history of the NBA.
And not only, but more specifically, man, you got to get it within your offense. You can't rush things. You know what I'm saying? You can't come down and rush these shots and shoot it with. It's got to come from the confines of your offense. But this is what, remember, we used to say this with the Charlotte Hornets all the time. Get the 2 points. Get the 2 points. There's nothing wrong with that.
Get the 2 points.
Get the 2 points and go play defense.
Yes.
But
especially when you're the number 1 defensive team in the league. Travis Kerr says, I can see Draymond doing his podcast with TD Garden if you want to try. please let that happen.
That would be
I would
awesome.
subscribe to his podcast.
I will log on. Yes.
Yes, definitely. And Kevin Avery says, complacent offensively after he got his contract. Back injury, needs to get back to his 2015 form.
Who are we talking about? Draymond?
Draymond. I think teams are just playing Golden State differently. They understand that Draymond is kind of the linchpin of that offense. And they're not
very true.
They're not allowing him to do the things that he could do.
Right.
And so then what else does he do? Because he's not like
Look, we've never looked at Draymond as a gaudy stat pattern. We don't look at Draymond because of his stats. His impact is measured differently.
Absolutely.
But on the offensive end, like you said, they're taking away all those options. So his impact has been limited on the offensive end.
That's exactly what's happening. I will say I need to see more from Andrew Wiggins. Although
I agree,
he is playing outstanding defense on Jason Tatum.
He really is. You got to give him props for that, man. Yeah, Jason Tatum is shooting 37%, 37%, something like that.
To put that into perspective, Steph Curry is shooting 55% true shooting percentage. That means including free throws.
Right.
55%, 34.6 points a game.
That's insane.
Y'all got to give Steph Curry his props. I hate this narrative that Steph Curry doesn't show up in the finals. He's number 9 before this series. He was number 9 all time in NBA Finals.
Where the hell
scoring average?
From? I don't. Whatever.
And then I remember.
Did that come from Skip Bayless to somebody? Or?
Yeah, just a bunch of people. And then this narrative, he didn't have a Finals MVP. First of all, everyone
in the
world knows that Andre Iguodala should not have gotten MVP in 2015.
That was the voters being creative.
Exactly. Year, They wanted to seem smart. They didn't want to pick the obvious choice. Right. They wanted to be one of these smart. Plus, I was hearing, well, man, Marcus Smart gonna lock up Steph Curry. That ain't happening.
Stop it.
You know what? He's played pretty good defense on Steph Curry. A lot of ball pressure. He's gotten a few steals, but Steph Curry eating y'all up for 43 points a game.
Let me say this, man. Let me say this about people who don't understand how NBA defense works. You don't really play one-on-one defense against anybody in the NBA, especially somebody like Steph Curry.
Yeah,
it takes.
Golden State's not going to allow that to happen.
Thank you.
They're going to find some scheme to get.
There are too many switches and too many schemes and too many things that you run at certain players where you're not even going to be on them all the time like that.
Exactly.
And then on top of that, the NBA caters towards offense anyway, so you're not going to really stop anybody like that, man.
Let me ask you this though: what do you think about the refs this series?
Inconsistent.
Yeah, I'm
inconsistent on both sides.
Scott Foster has a reputation of favoring the Celtics.
Let me cut you off real quick, Kaiser. Adam Silver has got to step in on that, because if I'm Adam Silver and I'm looking at social media and all these memes about Scott Foster, I cannot repeat a Tim. I'm not saying it's going that far. Let me be clear, but I can't repeat a Tim Donaghy situation.
Yeah, I mean, statistical outliers aside, I just don't think if that. I haven't checked to see if that particular narrative is going around that the Celtics were 12-0 and Scott Foster officiated games this season.
Right.
But if that's true, you got to look at that.
You got to look at that. You got to look at that.
12-0, one ref. You got to compare that to every other team.
Kaza, do you remember how the NBA's integrity was sacrificed in the Tim Donaghy era? You know how bad it was.
And the NBA did a good job of making everyone forget that. They swept it under a rug.
They swept it under the rug, man.
They isolated him,
right.
even though I find it hard to believe that he was the only ref.
Right.
The only ref,
I agree.
And he named names, and the NBA just said, well, we investigated those guys. They're fine.
He
we'll go to jail.
He went to jail. We're good.
We're good. Everyone, all right. Disaster averted. Even though we remember that LA Sacramento game.
Come on, man. No, not the game. The series.
Right. So, the officiating, I think the ref's like, okay, we're going to let him play. And that's been favoring Boston because Boston is the more physical team.
Right.
But sometimes, like, there was a 3-pointer Steph Curry hit. Jason Tatum just pushed him.
Right. And Steph Curry was just like.
And the ref was just like, okay, whatever,
bro. What are we doing?
But then they call a foul on Al Horford on that Steph Curry layup, which honestly probably should have been overturned.
Probably should have been overturned.
I felt like that was not really
like I said,
foul.
man, inconsistent, man.
Yeah.
Inconsistent on both ends. Absolutely.
Looney's impact has been the truth during the finals. His defense rebounding.
I agree. Very underrated, understated.
Yeah, those offensive rebounds. Same in the Phoenix series.
Yeah.
If you would have told me that Kevon Looney was going to, not Phoenix, Memphis, that they were going to be, that he was going to essentially be the biggest factor in that series. Which bodes well for the Hornets. Maybe we don't need a.
We can't go one more season without a damn center.
Gotta at least try.
At least try, man.
At least get one center. Gosh.
Hey, man, Mark Williams is a hot name from Duke.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, natural 7'2" wingspan.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that pick.
We doing an NBA draft show?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay. Just make sure.
Definitely 23rd.
Yeah.
Oh man, but you know what? The new Beavis and Butthead movie comes out that day. I might find a way to do both. We might do a draft party and Beavis and Butthead premiere.
Hey, look, man,
at the crib.
I'm here for both of them.
Yeah,
man. I'm here for both of them.
Yeah, and then Heroes Con. I guess that'll be my shout out. Heroes Con is the week after. For those who don't know, for those of you who are not nerds like I am, the Heroes Con is the largest comic book convention in the Southeast.
More than Comic-Con?
Well, Comic-Con is a West Coast thing. There is Comic-Con.
I know there's one in Atlanta.
Now, but I think the Heroes is still the biggest. It's the oldest. This is the 40th anniversary. 1982 was the very first Heroes Con. And so it's going to be a big one this year. So if you want to just it's a good weekend to go downtown and just see, because there's going to be a bunch of people walking around dressed like superheroes.
People watch. Yep.
Yeah, it'll be good. But I'm definitely going to try and go and not spend any money. That won't happen. I will go and spend on nerd stuff. So, but shout out to, that's like one of the, that's a Charlotte thing. Mm-hmm. And I hate that, like, we are losing Charlotte things.
Right.
Speed Street, gone. CIAA, gone.
Yep.
So, Heroes Con.
Fat Burrito, gone.
Fat Burrito, gone. All the music places, all the music venues, gone.
Man, we're still holding on to neighborhood theater, man.
How neighborhood theater survives is beyond me, especially considering where it is.
Right.
I mean, you know how many developers would love to tear that whole block down and put condos and parking there. Right. So yeah, much respect to them for.
Amos is still holding on to.
Yeah, and they were going to go under for a while. I remember
but they revamped their place and made it smaller. It's a more intimate venue now. Yeah, still got that, man. And but we're losing. But Plaza Mid was going to be South End 2.0.
Yeah, it already is. Yeah. The oldest family dollar in the world. They just tore that down.
Right. We don't need you anymore. Yeah. We're going to keep us 5 guys here.
Yeah, here's a parking deck for you.
Jesus Christ, man.
Oh, boy. So yeah, shout out to Heroes Con for Charlotte stuff. Also, another shout out to, I meant to mention this last week, but for the previous week, I want to shout out Denny Hamlin. I wish I could show a picture, but Denny Hamlin had a race in his Toyota, which was made to look like a Jordan 3.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And they won. It was dope. The podium picture was super dope. Yeah. You got Jordan Jumpman logos everywhere in this
car was dope.
Car that looked like a Jordan 3. That was a great moment in NASCAR history because I am sure there were some mad people. Mad people. You got if someone had told me, man, one day it's gonna be a car that looks like a damn Air Jordan winning a race in Texas.
Right?
Was it Texas? I don't know.
I got some shout outs.
Oh, one last shout out.
Go ahead, bro.
Shout out to the Curry family. Okay, next.
It's
Petty Wars.
Petty Wars.
Petty Wars 2022. Good Lord. If y'all don't know what's going on with that, just Google Del Curry and go down the rabbit hole.
I actually have 2 shout ats today. My first shout at goes to Mr. Jack Del Rio. What a coward.
Oh my God.
What an amazing coward.
Oh my God.
You know he deleted his Twitter yesterday?
Well,
Kaza, I'm not even going to really get into the meat of the shout at because if you're not familiar with what's been going on with Jack Del Rio, just Google it because I don't even want to give it that much attention, quite honestly. You know what I mean? All I'm going to say is this, man. Educate yourself on some things you say before you say them. That's all I'm going to say to that one. Here's my last shout at. I'm sure you can. Maybe you'll appreciate this. Maybe you won't, Kaza. My last shout at goes to Rolling Stone magazine. Let me close my laptop for this, buddy. I used to read Rolling Stone magazine back in the day. I thought Rolling Stone was a viable outlet for music, period. They've written some amazing articles when it comes to
over decades and
decades. They obviously have smart people who write these articles who are in tune to whatever culture they write about, especially rock culture. Let's not get it twisted. Rolling Stone started as a rock magazine. Mm-hmm. They evolved into more of a pop culture magazine. However, in our heavenly year of 2022, they released a list of the 200 greatest hip-hop albums of all time. Cardi B's album was ranked over Illmatic. Stankonia was ranked as the number 2 hip-hop album of all time. Let me talk about that just a little bit.
And I love Stankonia. I think it's a great album.
No, listen. Don't we love Outkast? Don't we think Outkast is one of the most brilliant groups of all time? Don't we agree?
Yeah.
Is Stankonia even the 3rd best Outkast album? Answer that to yourself. Is it the number 2 greatest hip hop album of all time?
I mean, it's all of Outkast albums are good, but I would like maybe place it like last.
That's my point.
You were the first person I saw post about this on Facebook,
I regret. I regret.
So I immediately went to look at the list, and there's. First of all, I was like, okay. First of all, if it's one person that wrote this, then I'll give it some slack because it would be difficult, even for me, to be like
200. That's a lot, right?
But it wasn't just one. It was like 20 people that gave their input, and they said something at the very beginning of the article. I'm going to read it, and it made me just completely disrespect the rest of the article. It said, as we dug and listened, we found ourselves less swayed by golden age mystique than we might have. I don't
respect you already. But
exactly. Said one of the incredible things about hip hop is that it evolves and expands faster than any other genre of music history. To a fan coming up in the era of Cardi B or Tyler or Polo G or Playboy Cardi, the golden age is now. Okay, so I'm going to disagree with that statement.
So basically a bunch of 25-year-olds wrote these.
It was clear they didn't want to give too much credence
to the 90s hip hop, the golden area,
to older hip hop, because they didn't want to alienate newer hip hop listeners.
Right.
And I'm sorry, I cannot respect your journalistic integrity if you do that. That's the whole point of doing a top 200 list.
And I'm gonna tell you
to appreciate.
But listen,
the previous era.
I'm gonna tell you another problem I have with that. They wouldn't do that for rock albums.
They would not.
They would not do that for rock albums.
They would not. Yeah.
They're not going to put Limp Bizkit over Led Zeppelin. They won't do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, what's the greatest jazz album of all time?
I couldn't say.
Okay, Miles Davis, kind of blue, Love Supreme, John Coltrane. You're going to name, if you ask any jazz, and the reason I pick jazz artists or jazz is because if any of you know any jazz guys, they're the most pretentious music guys ever. I hate talking, and I love jazz music.
Even the new age jazz artists.
I love jazz music, but I will not talk about jazz with jazz people.
Right.
But they're always going to mention stuff from that era.
Right.
From maybe right after classic to what they call the hard bop era.
Right.
Charles Mingus, Miles Davis, John Coltrane. Those are the guys they're gonna mention.
Right.
You won't even get into Herbie Hancock until you get down the list. And Herbie Hancock is like one of the giants.
And you better not come out your mouth and say something like Kenny G or something.
No, yeah. No, that's not even. Yeah. Don't even.
Right. Don't even do
You can't even name Incognito.
Right. Who's an amazing group.
Right. Been around for 50 years almost. You name something like them over Miles Davis or John Coltrane, people are gonna be like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" It's the same thing with hip hop, and I understand that hip hop is an evolving art, but the fact it's like they purposefully said, okay, we don't want to give.
I'm sorry, I can't.
There's no way Cardi B anything is better than Illmatic.
Cardi B shouldn't even be on the damn list, but whatever.
Number one on the list was Notorious Big, Ready to Die, which
look, it's not crazy. I don't agree with it, but it's not crazy.
Yeah,
you know
I'm not mad at that choice because I feel like you could have picked a lot of different albums from that era, and been okay.
Look, I don't want to go off on a tangent. Stop me if I am, but here's my problem with hip hop culture with whoever explained it the way they did. Why is it in hip hop we're always trying to put an age on hip hop?
Yes.
Oh, old school hip hop, 90s hip hop, old dude hip hop. And this list and this article is proof of the.
Absolutely.
It is a microcosm of the culture now, and I hate that, man. I don't like
part of greatness, and I don't care what you're talking about, sports, media, art, whatever. Part of greatness is long-term relevancy and longevity.
Right.
That is so. You're telling me that Cardi B's album, which hasn't even been out barely half a decade,
right,
versus Illmatic. The reason
made the same impact as Illmatic.
Illmatic, people are still talking about Illmatic 30 years later. Do you think anyone 30 years from now is going to be talking about Cardi? No. People aren't even talking about Cardi B's album now.
Come on, dude.
So you're just ignoring one.
Let me. I want to be very clear. I don't want to put the focus on her too much because I mentioned the fact that Outkast on this list was number 2 with Stank Onia, and I love Outkast. Everybody loves Outkast. So on top of the issue of ageism, the list is just trash as it is because it feels like you're not really paying attention to hip hop culture if you have the third at least the third best Outkast album as the number 2 album of all time. It just made me feel like you're just not paying attention. You know what I'm saying? I suggest
everyone just skip to the top 20 because that's where I think some of the
Illmatic is not even in the top 20.
That's where some of the most egregious stuff is going to be. Like Future's album DS2 is number 20. Now, while that's not a bad album, I find it hard to believe that album is over DMX, Is Dark and Hell is Hot.
Come on, man. Come on.
UGK, Riding Dirty, Illmatic.
And look, before anybody comes in here, because I can feel Rodney's spirit in here.
Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt is number 26.
Come on, man.
Matt Rule was probably upset at that.
Took 7 years, so, you know.
Yeah, 7 years, yeah.
And don't come in here with this, y'all riding for the South or the North stuff because.
And sometimes it feels like they did makeup calls, a ref suit. Like for instance, like Eric B. and Rakim Paid in Full is number 15. I feel like they just threw that in. They
don't really know about it.
Yeah, they just threw that in there. Like, man, we gotta have some.
Old school in there.
Like Dr. Dre 2001 is number 13. Now that is a great album.
It is a great album.
Is it better than the Chronic?
No. It damn sure didn't make the impact the Chronic did. The original Chronic. It didn't make it. Come on now.
I'll read the top 10. We'll leave on this. I'm going to read the top 10. Lauryn Hill, Miseducation, Lauryn Hill, which I'll buy that being a top 10 album.
I don't. I like it, but
I know.
Top 10.
We feel the same way, but I think when you look at the impact of that album,
very big impact.
I mean, and what that album was trying to do as far as a hip hop. I don't even think Lauryn Hill would consider it a hip hop.
Right.
But I'll buy it. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 9, Tribe Called Quest, Low End Theory. Okay. I feel like.
Listen. I'm biased, obviously. My favorite group ever. You don't have a hit. If Low End Theory is not in the top 10 list, throw the fucking list away. Okay.
Number 8, Wu-Tang Clan. Enter the Wu-Tang Clan. Yep.
That's another one you gotta have in there. Yeah.
All right.
This is where we get stupid, right?
Yep. Number 7, Missy Elliott.
Stop it.
Missy So Addictive.
Stop it.
That's Missy's 3rd album.
Stop.
I don't understand.
Which is not even better than her first 2.
That was the album that had Get Your Freak On it. I don't get that.
That's what. See, that's what I'm talking about. Now you're just throwing stuff in there because you're not really paying attention.
All right, number 6. Kanye West, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Listen, I love that album. I really like that album, but not top 10. No,
it wasn't better than The College Dropout, Late Registration. It wasn't even better than Great. Okay.
I like that album.
All right, number 5, To Pimp a Butterfly.
No, not top 5. No.
Okay, so this album should have been in the top 10. 5 is a little too lofty.
I don't even know about top 10, man.
I feel like that was Kendrick's best album. I feel like this was the album that should have got, because, he got a Nobel Prize.
You know what stuff we're missing in the top 10, man? Go read let's read the rest of the list real quick.
Number 4, Public Enemy, Takes a Nation, Millions to Hold Us Back.
That's another one you gotta have. You gotta have that one in there.
Number 3 was Jay-Z, The Blueprint.
No. Very good album, but no.
That had, I don't know, man. I don't know. That had Izzo.
What you put in the top 10? That a Reasonable Doubt.
Oh, Reasonable Doubt.
Come on. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, man.
And then number 2 was Stankonia.
Wow. Come on, man.
Number 1 was Notorious B.I.G.
So now let's say what we're missing. We're missing Mobb Deep, Infamous. You mean to tell me the Infamous ain't in the top 10 hip hop albums of all time? We're missing. Now, okay, this is debatable. Only Built for Cuban Links, not in the top 20. Come on, dude. Dog.
Midnight Marauders?
Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started.
I can understand if they didn't want to put 2
Tribe Called Quest albums on there.
I'll buy that. But I don't even... Midnight Marauders is not even in the top 20.
Don't get me started, Kaza. Don't get me... Listen, personally, Midnight Marauders is the best thing ever made. That's just my personal opinion. I don't want to get in an argument about that. But let's move on, okay? Infamous, Only Built for Cuban Links, Midnight Marauders. What else? Scarface, The Fix, The Diary. Pick one of them. There. You know what I'm saying? God, what else, man?
Dr. Dre, The Chronic.
Dr. Dre, The Chronic's not in the top 10. Illmatic's not in the top 10.
Yeah.
Stop it.
I don't know.
Stop it. Stop, Rolling Stone. Just don't do this again. Don't even attempt to write hip hop articles ever again. This is crazy egregious.
Their reasoning just falls apart to me.
Criminalize not in the top 10. What you put Stankonia as?
I wouldn't put it over Criminal. I wouldn't put it over ATA Aliens.
Come on.
I wouldn't put it over Southern Playlist.
That's my point. Yes. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't.
I thought I knew something about hip hop, man. Maybe I don't.
I mean, it's Rolling Stone. Rolling Stone.
Anyway, we gotta get out of here, man.
Yeah, we gotta get out of here. Hey, y'all have a great week. Y'all take care of each other.
We will probably see y'all win draft time. We're guessing. I think we're gonna take next week off.
Next week we're taking off, and then we'll come back for the draft. We'll have a draft party.
Yeah,
and we'll watch Mitch trade the pick.
There you go. Y'all be good, man.
Y'all be good.
This is an excellent show.
Don't be petty like the Currys.
Well, maybe you should be. Seems like it's more fun.
It's only fun when you're rich.
It's only fun. It's the problems when you're rich.
Exactly. Y'all take care.
Y'all be good, man.